Hello, world. Jabari Long here with another episode of the Long Report. Today, I have my friend, a very special guest, Mr. Andre Hill. How you doing, Andre?
Doing pretty good, brother.
Good, good. Today, we're going to talk about urban real estate, and you actually got a book you releasing real soon. What's the title of it?
It's called The Detroit Jungle.
Oh man,
Yep.
why use the word jungle? Explain it to me as if I don't know.
Well, if you recall, C Murder used to have a song out, and he used to say something about, sometimes it make me wonder why my people are going, how I keep from going under. And he was talking about the jungle.
Yes, yes, yes.
And in real estate inside the city of Detroit, it's the same way. Sometimes you don't even know that the climate and the different fiscal and economic circumstances can make you feel like you're in the wilderness or you in a jungle experience. Inside the book, I talk about the lions, tigers, and bears. And that's with the contractors, the land bank, and sometimes it'd be the title work. So it's just a lot of different things that come into play when you start talking about real estate in the city of Detroit. So I just put the survivor's guide that maybe you be just like you in the jungle when you riding down the street in your car. You can go ahead and read something that might be informative to you to guide you through those streets. So
That's what's up, man. When you posted about the book, I thought it was very timely, and I'm like, people need something like that, right? You got the Bible on the dashboard, right? Mm-hmm. But you need also a guidebook, like to emphasize how to navigate and move in the city, because it is different.
it's very different.
It's so different that even on the other side of 8 Mile, they don't understand like what's going on. Like, why do those people do that?
Mm-hmm. And to go along with what you're saying, the city of Detroit is so unique in its form. People talk about Ohio, towns and cities in Ohio, even like my hometown, my father's hometown back in Chester, Pennsylvania. Even though they're urban cities, there's no city like Detroit. First, because Detroit is still an African-American base town. There's still a lot of different black population in the city. A lot of older population is still in the city, people who have owned their houses for a number of years. Mm-hmm. And since you got an urban feel, you got a field of new, I ain't going to say immigrants, but more or less just new people coming inside of the city that now you have to be able to navigate differently. It ain't the Detroit of old, it's the Detroit of new. So you got to have those survival tactics when you're meeting up with people who have owned their homes for over 50 years or someone who's trying to purchase a home for the first time in the city of Detroit. So you got to know your P's and Q's, like they say, cross your T's and dot your I's when it comes to Detroit real estate. So, that's why I have the book. And I wrote the book actually about 60 days ago. And I was getting ready to present it at a seminar I was having at the church. But the publisher who I'm dealing with wasn't ready for it to come out yet. And so I said, this gives me the perfect opportunity, since we're already talking about urban Detroit real estate, for me to go ahead and put out that, yes, I do have a book coming out. And a lot of the things we're going to be talking about today is inside of the book. So
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now, you mentioned the church. You are a pastor, right? Tell us about your pastoring and just your real estate experience as a whole.
Well, yes, I want to shout out my parents, Bishop Andrew E. Hill, First Lady Vicey Hill at Greater Faithful Deliverance Church in Redford off of West Chicago. Yes, I am a pastor in the church, but I'm not the pastor in the church. That would be my father, who's a great man of God, who have taught me a lot of things. I serve up under him, and I mostly serve in the community, doing a lot of the family work, community work, men's development, and family development, and also business development. Real quick about the church, a lot of times people just get caught up in the spirituality of things, more or less just the sound, the song and dance, or the dog and pony show. But, coming from the church since day one, I can talk like that. That a lot of times inside of the church, it's not about the community need. It's about getting people in the pews, per se. So one thing that I like to do inside of my church, serving up under my father, is he gives me the opportunity to express myself in different type of ways, like having health events, having financial literacy events. Like I just had an event recently talking about economic empowerment, because I believe as much as you bring that 10th in, we're going to show you how to invest the 90% or do something good with the 90%.
That's a bar right there.
Yeah, but it's true. It's like a lot of times, especially with like the little Drewski skits about the pastor with the Christian Dior. And then you see so many preachers like Marvin Sapp saying, close the door during the offering. And even Pastor Marvin Winans kind of, I would say, encouraging the lady to, bring another 1,000 up here. The church can get a bad rap at times. But just so you know that it's not every church, and it's more or less churches that's still in the community, affecting the community, and not what you're seeing on television. So, but to finish the point, me as a pastor, I'm all about empowering people, building lives, and helping people. And in real estate, you're doing the same thing, but you're just doing it in a different type of way. So they go hand in hand to me, especially when you're dealing with your faith and you're dealing with your finances. So.
Yeah, I totally agree, 100%. Wow. Man, you kind of stunned me a little bit talking about that 90%, you know what I'm saying? Because that's important. And if there's any gripe that I think I have with the churches, let's talk about Detroit specifically, is that not enough community development. You look at areas immediately around and outside the churches. I don't know how people even drive there on Sunday and feel inspired when they got to, navigate through some of these neighborhoods. And I know that they have the ability to impact some of that change if they were intentional about it. So I'm glad that Greater Faith for Deliverance is not of that same cloth.
Yes.
And you all are doing something different in the community that makes a big difference.
Yes, since this podcast is being real, you can say whatever you want about the church on here. I don't have no problems because I get the calls, I get the emails, I see the television. And one thing about it, the church has to do better, but we all have to do better when it comes to the community and it comes to the fight for injustice, economic injustice in our community. So, yes.
Well,
I really feel, and it's not really off topic, but I really do feel that each and every pastor should own some type of real estate in the area where the churches is, because people inside of their own congregation probably need housing, and they're also, it's always good to have something going on adjacent to the church. Like a lot of times you will see a church in an area where there's so many vacant homes in that area. It should be pastors taking over a lot of those vacant homes and trying to redistribute the wealth that the church might receive into the community. But I can't tell a person what to do.
right.
But I believe that by having the source of finances, if they do have the source of finances, because most of these churches are broke, to tell you the truth. But if you do have that ability, like some of these mega churches or some of these churches that have that type of influence, they should be using that influence not just to open up a business across the city, but you should be doing things inside of that particular community where the church is, letting the people in the community know that we're not just here for people to come in, but we want you to come in also with your needs as well. So I think that is something that Detroit needs to do more. Invest the churches, and not just the churches, the mosques or any religious individuals need to invest in their community where the church is actually located.
Yeah, it's important. And my philosophy is, whenever I'm looking at buying property, the first thing I'm doing is looking at what's around it and looking to acquire it to, enhance it to a rising ship, a rising tide raises all ships. So you definitely want to look at what's around you, because that immediately, affects you in every aspect of the way. So, but let's talk about some of the obstacles, because not only do urban real estate investors have these obstacles, as you said, a lot of the churches and mosques, they have the financial obstacles, right? How do we get it done? We got this vision. We want to do this. We want to buy back the block. But how do we do it, right? We got lack of capital, credit challenges, limited exposure to education and resources, and how to kind of structure the deals. And then appraisal gaps in the neighborhood. We talk about discrimination and redlining.
Yes.
There's certain pockets where things just won't appraise, and zip codes, they got a certain stigma to them. So how do anybody navigate some of those hurdles?
Well, when you start talking about the navigation of hurdles economically, I don't want to get too intellectual on this podcast,
Why not?
because I can really get deep into some things. The first thing that we will have to address is, let's say, group economics. The only problem with group economics is you have to have a level of care or a level of understanding with each other to get the job done. But in some of our own groups, even churches, even families, even glee clubs, they basically can't even get a block club meeting together. Never more or less own the whole block. It's like we have to be able to come together in unity. If you don't have economics, if you don't have credit, it's going to be people have to come together and do group economics to get the job done. But I see it's such a problem with groups getting together these days. It's so much division in the country, so much division in the city, and it's like it's different. And I'm basically talking about the African American experience, because that's the only experience that I know. I have other friends, we get together and we do things together, but I'm talking about inside of my own church. Can we come together without attitudes, without emotions? Can we come together out with the group without selfishness, without wondering who's going to be the leader? Because I believe that the more that we come together as a group, we can cancel a lot of the errors and issues and obstacles that we may come together, that might come together. For example, the building that we have now, we have a great opportunity at that building because we came together and we purchased it together. Now it's being appraised for more than what we paid for it, and there's opportunities on the land to be built and to open up other businesses. It happened because we came together as a group and we seen the vision. But for us to get to the next level, we're going to have to come together again as minds, understanding that it's going to be a lot of economics involved in the next step. And we can't start going up against each other thinking about what somebody did to somebody 5 years ago. No, we have to keep the main thing the main thing. And that's the prosperity of the community, the prosperity of the people in the church, and affecting lives and families. Unity plays a major part when you don't have no credit, you don't have no money, and you need help. You need people to help you.
Yeah, I mean, that's very well said. When you look at it, you need people to come to the table with the things that you're lacking. Right?
Absolutely.
Who wants to have 12 turkeys at a Thanksgiving dinner? Somebody got to bring the pies, somebody got to cook the greens, somebody got to bring the mac and cheese, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, and I see, you know, you talked about other ethnicities that we're visualizing and looking at on the outside looking in. And of course, we know our people. And I see them not having the challenges of unity and collaboration and cooperation that we have. But I know it's all programming, right? It's, you know, the fact that we have challenges coming together is not of our own creation.
Yes.
We've been programmed to not trust one another, to feel like, why is he trying to help me, or why does she want to work with me, or, you know, I just want to go off in the corner and do it on my own because I'm afraid of what might happen. And I always had the mentality is like, why are the people with the least afraid the most? Like, if you're afraid of you know, if I got 2 Skittles and you got 30, why am I more afraid of losing my 2 than you are of your 30?
I can say that, but I can also say that in reverse. That's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because I have dealt with a lot of people who have a lot of privilege, and they can help and they won't help. I'm talking about people who may have everything that you need, but for some odd reason, they don't want to do business with you. That shouldn't stop you. So even if you have it or if you don't have it, nothing should stop you from getting to where you're trying to go. I've been in places where I didn't have much, but I made it happen. And I've been in places where I had a lot, and let's just say, if you don't have the right people around you, you will have nothing as well. So it's like you always need people. Don't never think that you don't need anybody. Wherever you are in your place in life, just understand that you don't have to have them. You might need them. But God will give you, or yourself, your intelligence, it'll give you a way to get to the destination yourself. So yes, you ain't seen people who have nothing that's in fear, but I've seen people who have a lot in fear as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, to your point, you know, fear is something common, right?
Yes.
A buddy of mine, he mentioned to me that fear is mentioned the most in the Bible, like over 300 times. The Bible talks about fear not, and just the concept of fear. And then always couple fear with ignorance, right? And that's not stupidity or being dumb. It's just not having the knowledge, not understanding how it works, right? Not being familiar, not having familiarity, not understanding the lingo, and or the process that whatever it is that somebody's trying to accomplish involves. So when you couple those two together, fear and ignorance, you often have it shuts people down. It causes them to be, you know, to stagnant, to not move, and sometimes go in the opposite direction of what their goals were. So I think with the group especially, right, and having the right people involved that have some information, some encouragement, some prior knowledge that will, you know, motivate the group and encourage a group of people to kind of see it from a different perspective, because ultimately that's all it is. It's just, what lens are you viewing this situation in? And if you swap out the lenses and look at from a different perspective, then you know, the situation is probably gonna look totally different.
Yeah, I believe I totally agree with you. Fear captivates people. That's why the scripture says that God has not given us that spirit, because you can have everything and be afraid of one thing and have nothing. We have seen that with people who are famous, who have certain mental issues, have all the money in the world, but something can fight you. And one thing that fights us all is fear. But, you know, that's why I operate in faith, because if all you do is hear fear, you got fearful people around you, fear on the television, fear everywhere you go about lack, then your mind and your brain will only think about fearful things. But that's why I try to keep myself in faith, that I know that even when fear tried to present itself, you got to have some type of mechanism to push those thoughts away from you and understand that everybody's going to have that spirit of fear that's going to come up on them. But people who are strong and confident in themselves and who they know who they are, they can get past that fearful thing. And that's huge in real estate, because you might see a deal and it might scare you to death. That doesn't mean that that deal might not be for you. That means that you might have to get more knowledge and understanding of that deal. And sometimes I think that a lot of things that we get afraid of is things that will never happen to us.
100%. Yeah, 1,000%.
So even in real estate, you might be fearful that the deal ain't gonna work. Man, sometimes you got to get more knowledge. And I believe that also, even with our personal lives, we have to get more knowledge of the things that we fear. Because it might not just be, like we said, it might just be false innuendos, false things that we're fearing. Some people fear right now that they ain't about to have a heart attack. If you keep thinking that, you're going to have one.
Have it, right?
But you got people also in the hospital right now saying, I'm coming out today. Yeah. And with that determination, he might just come out today. So sometimes when you see fear, you got to start tapping into faith. I tell all my friends this all the time. I let them know, if you're not in faith, if you're not listening to faith, how do you expect to be able to handle fears? How do you expect to be able to handle adversity and obstacles? And I also let them know also that don't look at it as church, but look at it as therapy. We all need therapy from years. I needed therapy from years of real estate. I had to get away from it. Just talking about my real estate history, starting by a house. I bought my first house when I was 20 years old. Had a long run, both listing, selling, investing, and all. It got to a point where you just get burnt out, especially if things ain't going the way that you want to go. And you might start making some of the wrong decisions. That's why you have to shake yourself loose. You have to be able to speak to yourself and let yourself know that, hey, even though I might be tired, irritated with the situation, it's still a brighter day and it's a better future for me. Fear tell you to shut that thing down and go and hide.
Yeah, like you ain't supposed to be doing this.
Yes.
I told you what supposed to. I knew it wasn't gonna work. You should have did it anyway. Right. And that's what family members, girlfriends, boyfriends telling you. You lose some money or a tenant move out and destroy the place, and they start laughing at you. They say, man, I tell you, you shouldn't have been doing that anyway. I told you shouldn't have been doing it, and then you start to adopt that mentality. So it's funny that you say that, that mindset is critical, right? If you don't have a strong, mindset and you're not faithful and thinking positively, then the first sight of any type of drama, any type of negativity, you go run up out of an urban area, especially one like Detroit.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. You're going to see something, and then that something is going to run you away.
Yeah.
So psychological warfare is definitely important in business and in your personal life. You got to be able to like the scripture talk about, casting down imaginations. And it talk about thoughts. I'm more or less just casting down those negative things that come into your mind, understanding that those things come to have you lose confidence in yourself and try to get you off of your square in different things. But, like you said, we're so programmed. Coming up, we were programmed to fail. No one told us, oh, Jabari, you're going to be president of the United States as a youngster. You know what I'm saying? They probably said, you're going to be a football player or a basketball player. Nobody said, you know what I'm saying? You probably said, I'm not 7 feet tall. Feel me? So this is how we are programmed. Yeah. We have to be programmed that even though there's adversity, even though there's obstacles that come in front of us, you can still endure through those obstacles. I'm reminded of a lot of millionaires who've been bankrupt many of times. And a lot of people say, oh, no, he's not good in business. but he still have a nice portfolio to me.
Yeah, and the jet, the chopper, you know. And I think, you know, that adversity is something that people who don't know, they got this term, say, if you know, you know, right? If you're in business, you're an entrepreneur, you've been doing this for a while, you read the books. All of the books talk about those challenges, talk about the bankruptcy, talk about losing it all, talk about like that being part of the journey for you to really understand what it's about and make sure that you're suited for what it is that you want to do. Like, you can't expect, I remember our mentor, Al Lucy, he told me, you can't expect to be in this business if you can't lose $100,000 a day and then get right back up tomorrow and be trying to go get some more money. You know what I mean? And he said that, 15, 20 years ago. So, like, people, you got to understand that it's not going to be all just roses, right? There's going to be some challenges, but we want to mitigate the challenges with, experience and some knowledge and some patience. And a lot of times these things are just self-inflicted, right? We was just being too greedy, you know what I mean? Or rushing through the process, or couldn't wait on our primary contractor, so we used this new guy and he screwed us over. So when we look at a lot of the challenges that we have had, a lot of them have been self-inflicted, So I always like to tell people, like, if that's happening to you and you still here, you still talking about it, then this is part of your story, So at one day, maybe, they'll be able to write a book that talk about their experiences over a period of time in a city like Detroit.
You're so right, because being in business, you have to have thick skin. Being in real estate, doing real estate development and real estate investing, you got to have a backbone, and you definitely got to have thick skin, because you're going to hear a lot of things. A lot of people are going to say a lot of things, and you can't make emotional decisions. Like I talk about in the book, how hiring family members is not a good idea. Because your family member will tell you he can paint, and then he'll tell you he could do furnaces as well. And we know that does not equivalent. A painter and a person installing furnace is not equivalent.
That's two separate trades.
But since he's a family member and he sees the money that the contractor may be giving out, he's going to step in the way of the real contract work. So a lot of times you have to just watch family. You got to watch people around you, because they might see you as the golden goose. And that's why a lot of times they have problems when they don't see you in the light that you were in. I don't think it's that they are hating against you, or they might have just thought that you was they way up out the hood. So they like you they shero, or you they hero or something. But whatever it is, just understand that people is going to always talk. It's going to be always somebody that has something to say. That's why I try to align myself with people who only speak positively to me. Not all the time, but most of the time we're speaking on a positive basis. And I try to stay away from toxicity, because in the real estate market, you got to be focused on your investment. You can't be thinking emotions. You can't be thinking about what mama and them or cousin them didn't say it. No, you need to be focusing on that contractor that day, making sure that he gets the work done the way it's supposed to be done, in the time manner that it's supposed to be done. So I have seen myself isolate myself away from people. And I want to say this on camera. It's nothing against people. It's just that the toxicity that people have is not inclusive upon my future. So it's like, I don't want them to think that I'm trying to isolate because I don't like them, I don't love them. It's just that when you're trying to hit a target, you need as much energy, positive energy, as you can actually absorb. And that negativity and different things is not going to help you in any way. I'm mindful if I bought a house for $1,000. It was a night, and it was a house that I thought that some of my family members would want to be a part of, because it's a house that we grew up in. I went to them about it, and all of them was turned down by the house. Like, no, we don't want to go back over there. That's the old Highland Park. You know, like somebody was gonna get robbed and stole something over there. Something was gonna get stolen from over there. But the house became a great investment. And I'm not gonna say I'm upset with myself these days or I made a bad decision. But if I wasn't listening to that chatter, I may have held on to an investment that might be worth $200,000-300,000 to this day. So sometimes the people around you affect the decisions that you're making. I got rid of the house. I made $11,000, but I could have made $200,000 just by the environment that I was in. If I was in an environment of more people who was thinking investing, not being afraid, first thing they were saying was how much work needs to be done. It's a lot of work that needs to be done. I understand that. But do you see the vision? You got to have people around you who can see your vision clearly and who wants to be a help to you getting to your vision. Not people questioning every move you make. I understand you have partners for that, but if that person ain't a part of that crew, they shouldn't have much to say to you about what you're doing. But that's how people like to do. I don't know why. They could be hating. They could be because they don't feel as though they're adding up enough in their own lives. I don't know what it is, but people always, and I'm not talking about strangers, I'm talking about your family, your friends, your business partners, always have something to say about what you're doing. So...
yeah, so there's two books that I like to recommend, right? One of them I just got introduced to. It's called The Battlefield of the Mind. It's written by a lady by the name of Joyce Myers. Fantastic book.
Fantastic book.
Definitely a game changer. If y'all don't do nothing else, buy that book, listen to it on Audible. And there's another book called The Power of Positive Thinking. Mm-hmm. And I forget the author of that book. But those are like, if you're looking for gift ideas and mm-hmm. things to give people, you know, buy them those books if they're negative. Like, I know a bunch of negative people. Even like, I got a buddy of mine who's very well-to-do. Mm-hmm. And he might be the most negative person I ever met in my whole entire life. My whole entire life. And when you talk about like your environment, that those negative energies you want to keep away from you. You know what I'm saying? You want to, because they'll start to, you know, determine and detour the way you were even thinking about an investment or a vision. So you definitely want to keep them away from them. And then we got to understand that it's very limited things that we can say or do to a person to change the way they think.
Absolutely.
Right? So we can argue them up and down. We can show them, you know, the data. We can show them the numbers. We can show them the analytics. And some people are just focused on locked in and thinking the way that they think. Mm-hmm. So we got to preserve our energy and keep that in mind and not waste a whole lot of time on trying to change people's minds, right? Some people will change if they see you do some things over a period of time, but it ain't going to be because you said anything to them. They just going to sit back and watch, right? So we need to be doers and not talkers and be the change we wish to see in this world, man. And by all means, keep those negative people away from you. This is like top tier. We don't do nothing else. If you just don't buy another piece of real estate, don't buy any real estate. Keep the negative people away. And a lot of those are the people that we like intimate with, right? Now. Like our boyfriends and girlfriends and like people that we're sharing our lives with. We doing life with some of the most negative people known to man. And you wonder why your situation won't work, why this won't work, why you can't get this business off the ground, or why you can't, you know, close on this house. It's because of, you know, that person right here next to you. Mm-hmm.
You're so right about that. Like you said, when they talk about the Jesus in the Bible, and he was saying, I was getting ready to be offered up. Like, I'm getting ready to do the will of the Father. The first one that jumped in front of him was his boy, Peter. Said, no, not you, Lord. We ain't gonna let you do that. It was almost like he got in his emotions. And it doesn't be the strangers. It be your homeboy. It be the people who you are close to. The people who got your voice. They got your ear.
Yeah, got your ear, yeah.
So their voice is important to you. even if you don't like them, like some friends and family that you might not agree with, they still have that voice because of the history and different things. So yeah, you have to be mindful of your mind. But going back to the book from Joyce Myers, it's another gentleman who's down in Louisiana, and he used to preach a message, and he almost used to preach this message every Sunday. It was called "It's a Mind Thing," and he used to say everything is a mind thing. And I used to think about that because he kept talking about it, and then I realized the reason why he stayed on top of it, because once you deal with the mind, you deal with everything else. And that's where we have to come up to the conclusion that our thinking is so important. How you think. It affects your children, it affects your family, and it affects your finances. A troubled mind is a mismanaged lifestyle. A chaotic mind is bad business decisions. They go hand in hand. So a lot of times you got to try to stay as peaceful as possible so you can make the decisions that you need to make. So yes, you definitely have to be dealing with your mind.
So, and I totally agree with, where you're going with mindset and the thought process. But how do you? I got a good friend of mine who I once told, I said, there's a saying we use, and I'm sure I heard it for somebody. They say, change your mind, you change your money, right? And the Bible talks about, you say the scripture, be you renewed, about the changing of your mind.
Yeah, be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
Be ye transformed.
Romans 2.
Yeah.
And 12 and 2.
So I told someone that, and the reason why I brought the book up is because that book, Battlefield of the Mind, is the best, guide or the best tool that I've heard or used to really relay that to a person. I tell them, just short and sweet, change your mind, you'll change your money. But if people get into that book and really understand the challenges and how we're fighting ourselves just with our mind. I was talking to a buddy of mine the other day, and I said, yeah, man, you don't want to do this because of, what people gonna say. And he was like, man, it ain't no audience. It's just me. It's me. And we were talking about getting manicures and pedicures as men, right? He's like, man, yeah, I don't want to do that like that. You know what I'm saying? Just something about me. And I'm just like, man, we have to open up our minds, right? We got to be open to changing the way that we think. And when somebody tells you that, especially if this is a friend, a loved one, somebody that you know would absolutely not harm you, I think that, we got to be open to that and inviting to it because, life ain't going to change. Your situation ain't nothing going to change any significantly if you don't change this first.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. Especially when you're talking about building a team or having people that you're doing business with. I got a question for you. How do you feel about doing business with people that you might not like or that you might not have the same energy? Do you even do business with those type of people?
Sometimes. So, I'll answer it yes and no, right? So it really just depends on what the thing is and the duration of the relationship.
The duration.
Yeah, the duration that we're prospecting or expecting this to last. Now, if it's a transactional, right? We're just doing the deal. I get a can of pop and I pay my 50 cents or whatever. Then I don't have to like you or that because it's quick and easy. But if it's something that's going to take some time and I know I'm gonna be in bed, with the person or with people for a while, then I do look at that differently because, and sometimes I'm not really concerned with myself. I'm concerned with them and their situation because I'm a firm believer. And I just had this conversation 2 weeks ago. like people will see me and you doing something positive, and then I go to the bathroom, and then they'll come over and try to get in your ear, and they say, well, yeah, you know, JB, this, that, and the third, or woo woo, and you know, yada yada yada. And then the Bible talks about like your ear, and then you know things kind of seeking down into your heart. So if you listen to this nonsense, then eventually it'll start to fester into your heart, and it is going to change the way that we deal with one another. So people are trying to destroy and impact good things. So sometimes it's not me not wanting to deal with this person. I just know their circle won't allow it to happen. Because if I come to the table, it's going up. It's going up.
Well, because I raised that question is because it's people who want to do business with you that don't really like you, but they want to do business with you. To me, that's almost like an oxymoron to me. It's like, why would you want to be in business with me, but you have negative energy and negative feelings towards me? And that's because people like to hang with talented people, even if they like them or not. They know who can bring the bag. They know who's successful. But this stage in my life and my maturity, I keep them people away from me because they know because of my success in the past, I can put something together. But I'm not in tune with people who wants to not just sell you a pop, but want to see you every day. And they have bad views and bad energy about them. But they be some of the main ones you hear and want to do business with you. To me, it makes no sense. And I'm talking about family. I'm talking about friends. And I tell them I can't do business with you, not because I don't like you or anything, but we're going to have hard conversations with each other. And if you already got negative energy about really something that may happen in the past, when we get to the table and we talk about these millions of dollars, we're going to really have to have some conversation because it's serious money. And I'm like, some people, it's like, I don't know what it is. They can't get past their mental and whatever obstacles that's going on in their mind. But for some odd reason, they still want to be a part of the group or the crew when it comes to doing business.
Because they not stupid, right? They know what's going to happen. They see it, you know what I'm saying? They're not blind, right? But, you know, and I always try to extend as much grace and mercy to people and for people as I possibly can. Because I know that the problem that they have with me is really not a me problem. It's something within them.
Yes.
The perception that they have of themselves versus the perception that they have of me, or whatever it is, it's definitely something internal. Because if it was something, a situation that I wronged them or a deal went left, we could sit down here at the table and talk about it and figure out a way to get over that hurdle, you know what I mean? Or how can we make this right, you know what I mean? But outside of that, like how a person feel about themselves is going to dictate so much of what they do, you know, or what they don't do. And people got to know, like, you know, we've been self-employed. We talk about it for so long. Like, I don't even remember. Like, when people talk to me about FMLA and, you know, PTO, and I've learned what the acronyms mean, but I've never, you know, worked in an environment to where I can use that. I've always been self-employed. So, like you say, you got to have a boss conversation, a real conversation.
Yes.
Ain't no ducking and dodging.
Ain't no ducking.
You go be accountable, or we ain't talking.
Yes.
Period.
Yes.
So I 1,000% agree. You know, I'm gonna keep the phone on.
Yes.
But don't come here talking about what maybe you might have thought. Like, nah, that ain't the way to approach me, man. Keep it 100.
And that goes along also with group economics, because don't think that I don't want your help or that your help can't be needed. It's just that the mind state is wrong. It's like a lot of our families, our friends, and the people that we around, it's like you bring something to the table. I'm not saying that you don't. It's just that if you bring that toxicity to the table as well, then the table is going to get turned over eventually. I don't care how talented you are. Sometimes people be saying, why do Dre hang with certain people? It's because we get along. I don't have to hang around you because you got 4 or 5 doctor degrees or you got $1 million in your pocket. If we don't get along, I don't want to be nowhere near you. It's because I have to keep my spirit in order, especially if you're trying to hit a target in real estate or in business or whatever.
Yeah, anything in life.
Yes. So, yes, group economics, understanding that we need each other, but sometimes it's difficult to deal with each other. Like, I need you.
Yeah.
But I can't deal with you.
And I think we got to really make those assessments and then just get past it and revisit them, later down the road when situations might change. Because people's situation really impact what you do with them. Like I might think I'm partnering with Joe, but really I'm partnering with Joe's wife, his children, and his immediate circle. So if his wife don't want him doing the real estate in general, I don't care what Joe's bringing to the table. I'm smart enough now to know that we can't do this business because she don't want it to happen. And I don't care how much you think you doing it by yourself. Ain't no way your woman ain't influencing your decision making and how you move. So those are the things that we kind of, and I'm always being mindful of that. Like I deal with a lot of women, and because typically in the Black community they handling their business more than their male counterparts. But it's certain stuff that we can't even do together because, like, your husband, he ain't gonna go for that. And like, what you doing this deal with this guy? What y'all got going on? This, that, and the third. So it's always gonna be some challenges and potential boundaries, and we just gotta look out for them, forecast them, and make sure we stay away from them.
Absolutely. Because, growing up and doing real estate at a young age, I had my cousin Matthew with me. And you just got to make sure that the people that you're dealing with, especially if anybody of any authority, is in your corner. And if they not, you're going to have to split fast. And it might go on your own, because I remember a deal, I thought I had a wholesaling deal back in the day, and we were supposed to receive a substantial amount of money, but since she was the real estate broker, I think it was King Investments, I don't know if you remember King Investments on 12 Mile Road back in the day.
Well, you said the company, what's her name? Like, what was her name, you remember?
It was Adrian Sane.
Okay.
Or it was some Adrian King, something like that.
Okay.
But we found the house. I'm talking about after we done sent hundreds of purchase agreements in, and nobody would accept us. So, we wholesaling, send the agreement in, and hopefully it get accepted, and then, doing a sign of the contract or something. We found this house. She's the real estate broker. She was supposed to give us the difference between what we found it for and the purchase price. She just basically gave us the commission of the deal. So rather than giving us $10,000, she gave us like $1,500. So that kind of let me know that all because people are around you, that don't mean they're for you. And that you always got to have things in writing, even family, 100%. Friends, partners. You got to have things in writing. Because you don't know how a person is thinking about you that day. Now, you can trust and believe if you got some type of history and you got confidence in that person. But just like you said, outside influences, and I believe that was an outside influence from her husband, letting her know, don't pay these young guys all this money. Let's just give them something for they could be happy and pat them on their heads. So the people around you that you're doing business with and that you're trusting in, you got to make sure that you keep it and a good evaluation going on constantly, making sure that your best interest is at heart. And that's the real estate field. Because if it ain't in writing, like we always said, it does not matter.
It doesn't exist.
You're going to have a hard time dealing with folk if you don't have contracts and attorneys and accountants. So that's what I talk about in my book when I talk about group economics and I talk about dealing with people. That some people of authority, some people who you think might be in your corner, they might not be. And you have to pivot off of that and get moved to a place that's more peaceful and positive and more fiscally for your pockets.
Yeah. And like I heard Rick Ross say here recently, it's all about negotiations, right? You got to make sure that you negotiate because in the jungle, people do things. They cross the line. They be habitual line crossers, and it try to bring certain characteristics and things out of you that you really want to stay buried in the past. You know what I mean? When money is involved, time. We talking about property, so it's very critical to try to avoid those situations when possible, especially in the city. I think one of the advantages that we have growing up in the city. I grew up on the west side of Detroit. You grew up in Highland Park, right?
Correct.
Is that we understand the lingo, we understand the people, the language, the gas station, the liquor stores, the businesses within the communities, like the dynamics, and that certain people have to get the lights cut on illegally or get the water cut on illegal because of their economic situation. So we have a significant advantage. I was talking to one of my buddies about this the other day. Like, we're good on any MLK, as the rap sayings go. So we're comfortable, meeting contractors, talking to tenants, and leasing this property, and having ownership on the east side or the west side or Highland Park because we're very familiar and comfortable with the dynamics. And I think some of the people that may not look like us, some of the international investors and national buying properties here from Colorado, they just don't have the right personnel dealing with the tenants face to face, and they got probably the wrong intel. I had some clients, and I won't say what country they were from, but they were talking to us on the management piece, and they said, we don't want to rent to black people, but they got 30, 40 houses in Detroit. Like, who you think you going to be renting to here? Who you think you going to be renting to here? And do you know that the guy you talking to is black? You know what I mean? Like, so intel and personnel is very important dealing in the urban areas because you got to have people who really want to be here. Because if I'm, an agent out in Birmingham or Bloomfield, I might only be trying to come to the city when I'm dealing with, going to a Tigers game or to a Lions game. Mm-hmm. I might not want to come and meet tenants and deal with break-ins on the west side of Detroit, which is, a very real thing when we property ownership.
But what you're saying is so correct. One of the things that I talk in the book, Detroit Jungle, is how my first broker, Al Lucy, and our friend and mentor, how I first met Al. I met Al because the day before he read a book. I can't remember who was the book by, but it was a real estate book, and the book said, when you go looking at a house, if you see the neighbors outside, go approach the neighbors. And that's what he did. He approached my father, and my father told him that I wanted to be in real estate. And he got his number, and the rest is history. I speak about that because some people outside of the city ain't speaking to nobody on the block. They afraid of people on the block. Or they have a preconditioned notion of what the people on the block is. But that's what I talk about in the book. If you want to be a real real estate investor in the community, you're going to have to be a part of the community in some type of way. I don't mean if you see 6 people in front of a house with the same flag on it, you're going to be over there talking and gesturing with them. But if you do see an elderly couple, if you see somebody playing with their kids, if you see somebody doing any of those things, that you need to stop them and let them know, hey, what is this? How is the community? How is the block? How is the area? And they might tell you something about that particular house that you will never know about.
Yeah. I was looking at a bunch of houses. This is a couple weeks ago, and I knocked on one door, and the young lady who lived there, I knew her from 20 years ago. And she said, Jabari, and she's like, yeah, I just moved over here. But the lady next door, she the mayor of the block. You can knock on her there, Miss Such and Such. You can ask her anything. So when you talk to the people in the community, they really do give you the 411.
Yes.
And those people are happy to see investors like us come and fixing up a vacant house or a house they've been looking at, staring at, wishing the city would do something with. So you definitely want to, day one, step one, reach out to those people and make sure y'all in communication, because just having people right there is so valuable.
Because I don't know about no other city, no other country, but in Detroit, I'm talking about in the city of Detroit, you can see a nice house, and that house can look immaculate on the internet and think that you got a great deal. And then when you send somebody over there, they might say, I don't even want to go in there. They might say, I don't even go on those streets.
Yeah, 100%. That definitely happens in Detroit all the time.
But that's because it's unique to the experience. Detroit is a town you have to drive. You have to walk the block. That's why I say the jungle. You have to be a part of the experience if you want to be successful. I've known people to just buy houses and then, just throw it against the wall and see if it's going to stick. But that's a 50-50, maybe a 80-20 crapshoot that might not work out for you. But like I talk about in the book, you can't exploit the community. That's what a lot of people try to do. They try to come in, and especially when I got in the book about the $10,000 home. You know about that home, the $10,000. They look on the television, or now they be on Craigslist, California, Craigslist, Texas, talking about you could buy a house for $10,000 in the city. Mm-hmm. And somebody with $50,000 say they could buy 5 or 4 and fix them all up, not thinking realistically that this city might be different than any city in the world. Because that $10,000 dream will turn into a $75,000 nightmare. It's because of the uniqueness of the city. So when you say we can navigate the city because we could talk to contractors, we could talk to people, we can knock on doors, we know areas. That's our cheat code. And that's what I teach people in the book. You got to develop your own cheat code for the areas that you want to develop in. You can't be scared and do real estate. They don't match.
Yeah, you can't just want to get the money and not want to deal with the people or the patterns of the neighborhoods that you're buying in.
Especially when you're talking about rental properties.
Yeah.
I talk about that also. I know you got horror stories about renters because you told me about it. And I had to pray for you.
Yeah, so I definitely appreciate you coming on, man. We're going to have to do a part 2 to this because part 1 was really just about mindset, right? It's like you got to have your mind right to even think about being an urban real estate investor. So we definitely going to schedule that. Before we wrap up, man, I want you to, tell the people about your church, where it's located again, give them a phone number, how they can reach out to you. And, we look forward to having you back on the show real soon.
Yes, I definitely want to thank you for having me here at the Long Report. It's been a long time coming. And once again, we at Greater Faith for the Deliverance Church. That's 26431 West Chicago in Redford, Michigan. You can always reach me at realestateKingofDetroit@gmail.com. I'm always available for consultation if you need any help on anything. The book Detroit Jungle will be out around April the 18th. I do have digital copies that I can send. Just send me a text or email. Just send me an email to, once again, the Real Estate King of Detroit at Gmail. And for the final take, I would just want to thank my parents always for being who they are. My people out there in Philly who's definitely supporting me. The people who already purchased the book. And just the opportunity to sit with my good brother here who we had maybe 20 some odd years of real estate developing together and being a part of everything that he puts his hands to, because like my mother says, it be prospering. So
So I want to say shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Hill as well. You know, you can tell the strength of the tree by the type of fruit it bears. So you all have done an excellent job. I always, in particular, when I interact with people and I can really call Andre my friend, I don't use that word lightly. And yeah, we've been rocking since the JP Ford days back on Plymouth Road in Detroit.
we're going to have to get into this.
So yeah, thank y'all for tuning in. Once again, this is Jabari Long with the Long Report. We'll see y'all next time.